She had no idea anyone was watching her. Just another long, tiring shift at the small diner where she worked as a waitress, barely making enough to get by. She moved quietly between tables, wiping down surfaces, refilling coffee cups, and managing smiles that were just a little too forced. Most days felt like a blur, hours filled with hustle, hoping for a kind word or a decent tip, but always just scraping by. She didn't expect anything more. Life was a constant grind, and dreams felt like distant stars she could barely reach. But on this particular day, something was different. Unbeknownst to her, a man sitting in the corner was watching every little thing she did, not just as a customer waiting for his meal, but with a keen eye, noticing her kindness to every person who walked through the door, how she never complained even when the diner was packed, and how her smile, though tired, never truly faded. This wasn't just any man. He was a billionaire, someone used to a world far removed from the struggles she faced. A man with power and influence, but also a surprising sense of empathy. The scene was ordinary at first glance. A small diner on a busy street, the hum of casual chatter, the clinking of plates, and the soft buzz of the old ceiling fan. Yet beneath this normal day was a silent story unfolding, one that would change her life forever. The waitress, completely unaware, continued her work, carrying the weight of her challenges without a clue that her life was about to take a sharp turn. What was it about her that caught the billionaire's attention? Was it her resilience, her kindness, or maybe something deeper, something he saw that no one else had? As the day wore on, the subtle glances and thoughtful moments from this unexpected observer hinted at plans far beyond a simple meal. Plans that could lift her out of hardship or leave her wondering what might have been. No one could have predicted what would happen next. Would she realize she was being noticed? Would the billionaire approach her? And what would happen if their worlds collided? One thing was certain. This was no ordinary story of a waitress at work. It was the beginning of something much bigger, a twist of fate that would leave both of their lives forever changed. Stay tuned, because what happens next will surprise you, and it's a story you won't want to miss. The waitress, whose name was Emily, had always been someone who carried her own quiet strength. She wasn't just serving coffee and meals. She was balancing a world most people never saw. A single mom working 2 jobs, trying to keep a roof over her head and put food on the table for her young daughter. Every day was a careful juggling act, and every smile she gave was a little victory over the exhaustion she felt inside. Emily's life wasn't easy, but she never wanted pity. She believed in hard work, even if it didn't always seem to pay off. The diner where she worked was a modest place, tucked away from the shiny city lights, filled with regulars who came for cheap comfort food and a friendly face. It wasn't glamorous, but it was real, and for Emily, it was home. She had dreams, sure, small ones that seemed almost impossible with her schedule. Maybe a better job someday, or just enough money to take her daughter on a vacation. But mostly, she hoped for a break. Just one chance to prove she was more than the tired waitress everyone passed by. The billionaire, whose name was Mr. Carter, was a man used to power and control. A self-made mogul, his life was filled with boardrooms, investments, and luxury. Yet despite all his success, there was something about Emily's simple determination that caught his eye. He saw beyond the worn-out apron and the tired eyes. He saw a story of resilience, one that reminded him of his own struggles long ago. It was rare for someone like him to step out of his world and truly notice someone like her, but that day, something compelled him to do just that. Mr. Carter didn't make impulsive decisions. He was careful, deliberate, and calculated. But watching Emily work, something shifted inside him. The kindness she showed customers, even when she was clearly exhausted, the way she handled every challenge with grace, it was magnetic. He wondered what her life was like outside the diner walls, what dreams she held onto when the day was done. He felt a pull to learn more, to somehow make a difference in her story. As the afternoon turned into evening, the diner grew busier, the hum of conversation rising. Emily moved from table to table, unaware that her life was quietly unraveling into something new and unexpected. Mr. Carter remained in his seat, thinking about how a chance encounter in a small diner might just be the start of something neither of them could fully understand yet. But the question lingered: why had fate brought them to the same place at the same time? And what would happen when their paths crossed for real? Emily's world was about to change in ways she never imagined, and Mr. Carter's intentions were still a mystery waiting to be revealed. As the days passed, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. She found herself glancing over her shoulder more often, wondering if someone was watching her. But the diner stayed the same, a noisy little spot where regular customers came and went, and the hum of everyday life filled the air. Still, beneath the surface, a quiet tension began to build. There was a new energy around her, a mix of hope and uncertainty that made her heart race even when her body begged for rest. At home, the pressures didn't ease. Her daughter, Lily, was growing fast and full of questions about the future, about dreams bigger than their tiny apartment could hold. Emily wanted to give her everything, but money was tight, and time was even tighter. Every paycheck barely covered the basics: bills, groceries, school supplies. It was a constant balancing act that left Emily feeling like she was running a race she could never win. The idea that someone like Mr. Carter had noticed her felt almost unreal. Who was he to think her life could be different? Meanwhile, Mr. Carter was no stranger to complexity. His world was full of deals and decisions that affected thousands, but lately his mind kept drifting back to that small diner and the waitress who had unknowingly captured his attention. He began to follow her story quietly, through casual conversations with the diner's staff and small clues he could pick up without intruding. He was intrigued not only by Emily's strength, but also by the invisible struggles she carried with such dignity. Yet, there were voices around him warning against getting involved. In his world, mixing personal feelings with business could be dangerous. Some whispered that helping someone like Emily could come with complications he wasn't prepared for. Others reminded him of the difference between charity and empowerment, urging him to think carefully before making any move. Still, Mr. Carter couldn't deny the pull to do something, anything, that might give her a real chance at a better life. At the diner, Emily's co-workers began to notice the subtle shift. Some speculated about the mysterious man who came in every day, sitting quietly and watching. Others teased her, saying maybe her luck was about to change, but Emily brushed it off. She was no stranger to disappointment. The truth was, she didn't want to get her hopes up. She had learned the hard way that life rarely handed out miracles. But then, a new challenge arrived, one that tested Emily's resolve even more. The diner was struggling financially, rumors of closure starting to spread. For Emily, this wasn't just about a job. It was about community, about the place where she found small moments of connection and support amid hardship. Losing it felt like losing a part of herself. The stakes were rising, and with every passing day, the tension grew thicker. What would Mr. Carter do next? Would he step forward or stay in the shadows? And how would Emily face the battles ahead when so much was on the line? The answers weren't clear, but one thing was certain: the story was far from over. Days turned into weeks, and the weight of uncertainty pressed heavier on Emily's shoulders. The diner's fate was hanging by a thread, and every shift felt like walking a tightrope. The regular customers whispered worries about the place closing, and Emily could feel the tension in the air thickening like a storm about to break. Bills were piling up, and the owner, once hopeful, was now exhausted, unsure how much longer he could keep the doors open. For Emily, it felt like the very foundation beneath her feet was crumbling. Meanwhile, Mr. Carter's visits became more frequent, but still quiet and unassuming. He never approached Emily directly, choosing instead to observe from a distance, weighing his options. His world of million-dollar decisions and corporate power moves suddenly felt small compared to the human story unfolding before him. Yet, the stakes were complicated. He wasn't just deciding on a business investment. This was about a person's life, hopes, and dreams. And that made every choice more difficult. Emily noticed him more now. The way he watched without interrupting, as if he was trying to understand something beyond what words could say. It sparked a mixture of curiosity and hesitation inside her. Who was this man really? What did he want? Part of her wanted to believe he was the answer to her prayers, but another part was afraid to hope too much. The scars of past disappointments ran deep. At home, the stress was impossible to ignore. Lily's innocent questions about why things were changing, why the diner was struggling, cut through Emily like a knife. She wanted to protect her daughter from worry, but the truth was heavy and real. Sometimes, after long shifts, Emily would sit alone in their small apartment, wondering if she had the strength to keep going. One evening, as the diner was about to close, the power flickered and the lights dimmed. A sudden hush fell over the room. Emily glanced toward Mr. Carter's booth, where he sat quietly, his face unreadable. For a moment, their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them, an understanding, a promise, or maybe a challenge. Then the owner gathered everyone and shared the news. Without immediate help, the diner would have to shut down in a matter of days. The room fell silent. Regulars exchanged worried glances. Emily's heart pounded in her chest. This was it, the breaking point. Outside, the night air felt colder than usual as Emily locked up. She stood there for a long moment, caught between fear and a flicker of hope. Somewhere nearby, Mr. Carter watched, his mind racing with decisions that could change everything, or leave everything as it was. The future was unclear, the tension unbearable. What would happen next? Would Emily's life be changed forever by the man who quietly watched from the corner booth? Or would this be another chapter of struggle in a story that seemed never ending? The answers were close, so close, but still out of reach, waiting in the silence before the storm. Just as Emily thought the worst was about to happen, something unexpected shifted the whole game. The next morning, the diner's doorbell chimed, and in walked a man she hadn't seen before, sharp suit, calm but confident demeanor. It was Mr. Carter, but this time he wasn't alone. Behind him stood a group of people, lawyers, business associates, and even a few local reporters. The diner suddenly felt smaller, the weight of every eye on her heavier than ever. Emily's heart raced. She hadn't expected this kind of attention, and neither had the others. The regulars exchanged whispers, their curiosity mixed with hope and confusion. What was this billionaire doing back in their humble diner with such a big entourage? The room was thick with tension, every moment stretching longer than the last. Then Mr. Carter spoke, his voice steady but carrying an urgency that caught everyone off guard. He wasn't just here to watch or offer vague promises anymore. He had plans that could either save the diner or change it forever. But there was a catch. His help wasn't without strings, and those strings pulled tighter than anyone could have imagined. Emily felt a surge of emotions, relief, excitement, but also fear. What did he expect from her? Was this some kind of deal she wasn't ready for? And how would her co-workers and the community react to this sudden change? The diner had always been a place of simple warmth and familiarity. Now it was becoming the center of something much bigger, something that threatened to tear apart the life Emily knew. At the same time, Emily's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. It was a warning, vague but clear. Not everyone wanted the diner to survive. There were people in town who saw the diner's potential revival as a threat, competitors, maybe even some with less honest intentions. The stakes were rising on every front, and Emily realized that the fight to save the diner wasn't just about money anymore. It was about trust, loyalty, and the courage to face powerful forces she had never imagined. Mr. Carter's presence brought both hope and danger. His offer was tempting, but it came wrapped in complications that left Emily questioning everything. Could she trust a billionaire who seemed to have his own agenda? And could she protect the people she cared about from the growing storm? As the day wore on, the diner became a battleground of whispers, glances, and decisions that could change lives forever. Emily stood at the crossroads, caught between fear and possibility, knowing that whatever happened next would push her to the edge. The story was no longer just about a poor waitress and a mysterious billionaire. It was about survival, secrets, and a choice that would test the very core of who Emily was. And the next move, it was hers to make, but the consequences were still unknown. The tension in the diner was almost unbearable as Emily faced the moment that would change everything. Mr. Carter's offer was laid out clearly. He would invest in the diner, help turn it around, and give Emily a chance at a fresh start. But there was one condition. She had to take a step into a world she'd never known, working alongside him to help rebuild not just the diner, but the neighborhood it served. It was an opportunity unlike any other, but it also meant leaving behind the comfort of what she knew and stepping into uncertainty. Emily's mind raced as she looked around the diner, the worn tables, the familiar faces of her co-workers and regular customers, the small moments of laughter and kindness that made this place feel like home. Could she really risk it all? The weight of responsibility pressed down, but beneath it was a spark of hope she hadn't felt in years. After a long pause, she agreed. The room seemed to hold its breath as Mr. Carter smiled, a genuine warmth in his eyes. The deal was made, and the first steps towards saving the diner were set in motion. For the first time in a long time, Emily allowed herself to imagine a better future, a future where her daughter wouldn't have to struggle like she did, where kindness could be rewarded and dreams could be chased. But just as the relief began to settle, a new challenge erupted. The warning message had been more than just a threat, it was a signal. That night, the diner's windows were shattered, vandalized in an act meant to intimidate and scare. The community was shaken, and Emily felt the sting of fear more sharply than ever. It was clear someone didn't want the diner to rise again. Yet, instead of backing down, Emily found strength she didn't know she had. With Mr. Carter's support, the community rallied. Neighbors came together to help repair the damage, turning the act of destruction into a symbol of unity and resilience. The diner became more than a place to eat. It became a beacon of hope and determination. Just when things seemed to be turning around, the final twist hit. Mr. Carter revealed something no one expected. He wasn't just an investor. Years ago, his own family had once owned this very diner, before it was sold and forgotten. Helping Emily wasn't just business, it was personal. His return was a way to honor his past and create a new legacy. Emily stood there, stunned but inspired. The diner story was no longer just hers. It was a story of second chances, hidden connections, and the power of hope. And as the sun rose on a new day, one thing was clear: this was only the beginning. In the weeks that followed, the diner transformed in ways Emily never imagined. With Mr. Carter's support and the community's renewed spirit, the old place began to shine again. The broken windows were repaired, the faded paint refreshed, and new energy filled the air. Emily wasn't just a waitress anymore. She became a partner in something bigger, helping to create a place where people could come together, share stories, and feel like they belonged. The neighbors who once worried about the diner closing now took pride in it. Regulars brought friends, and new faces appeared, curious about the change. The little diner had become a symbol of hope and resilience, not just for Emily and her daughter, but for the entire neighborhood. It was proof that even in the hardest times, kindness, hard work, and a little faith could make a difference. Emily's life started to shift too. With a steady income and a role that gave her purpose beyond the daily grind, she felt a new confidence growing inside her. She had learned that sometimes help comes from the most unexpected places, and that trusting others didn't mean losing control, but gaining strength. Her daughter Lily noticed the change too. Their small apartment felt lighter, filled with more laughter and fewer worries. Mr. Carter remained a quiet but steady presence, proving that even those with the greatest power could choose compassion over business as usual. His story, revealed to Emily, showed that everyone carries a past, and sometimes giving back is the most important investment of all. The connection they shared became a reminder that behind every success is a human story waiting to be told. Though the diner's future was brighter, Emily knew challenges would come again. Life wasn't about avoiding struggles, but facing them with hope and courage. And this time, she wasn't alone. Looking back, it was clear that the day the billionaire walked into that small diner was more than coincidence. It was a turning point, a moment where two very different worlds collided and created something new. The story wasn't just about a poor waitress or a wealthy man. It was about dreams, resilience, and the power of unexpected kindness. As the diner's doors opened each morning, Emily smiled, knowing that no matter what the future held, she'd have found more than a job. She'd found a community, a purpose, and a chance to rewrite her story. And sometimes that's all it takes to change a life forever.